Hello and welcome to the Mind of the Crochet Designer podcast. Thank you for being here. I love to talk to you on this podcast. It's so easy for me. I just hit that record button and just start blabbing. And you can just listen to me blab while you do your crochet or your design work or doing your commute or whatever. I would love to hear from you your experience with this podcast. So if you feel called, please leave a review on christinacrochetcoach.com/podcast. There's a form you can fill in that will automatically post your review on the page. So because I love to read them and I love to hear from you what has helped you most with this podcast. So recently, I got an email from someone who said she was following the podcast for a long time and she would love to transition from just doing crochet design work here and there to full time. So, quitting her day job and really becoming a crochet designer full time. And I have something to say on that matter. And I also want to share my personal journey because I don't think I've ever shared it with you on the podcast. I think I did write about it at some point in a newsletter, maybe, but not on a podcast. And it is such a personal journey, a personal growth journey, really. And working as a successful crochet designer or just a crochet designer full time really has enabled me to live a life of alignment. And I know alignment is such a word that has been overused, but it really is true for me because before I started as a crochet designer full time, and starting Christina Crochet Coach, I was actually in burnout. But first, before I go into what was, I feel, the bleakest, most difficult period of my life, let me first go back to how I actually started crochet designing. So, it was like 2014, I believe, and I had a sister in law, Marinka, from a creative being. And she actually committed suicide in 2015. But back in 2014, she was working as a crochet designer. She was doing it full time. And she really struggled with that because before she had like a day job and she was working as a crochet designer very successfully. And she also got like sponsorships, deals with yarn brands, and it was just taking off. She was even featured in magazines. So hugely successful. And that wasn't even her goal. Her goal was just to, she had a blog and she just shared like these fun crochet designs, very retro, very vintage inspired, like 70s style, and just fun, you know? And she was also loving to do photography. I learned a lot regarding photography from her, actually. And I was like, oh, I would love to do what she does. It just felt so fun. And she was the one who said to me, like, Christina, you really should start a blog. Go start blogging. It's fun. So I did with her, I wouldn't say permission, but with her encouragement. And it's so important when you're just starting out on a journey of something new, learning new skills, everything can feel scary. And it's so powerful if there's someone who's already in the field, already being successful, who's saying to you, I see that you can do it too. If you have that dream, just go follow it. It's so powerful. And before I go on with the story, I want you to know I want to be your Marinka. So if you are ever like doubting yourself, I want you to know I see you. I know it can feel scary and hard to start on your dream, to take action because, and this is really true, when you have a dream, it's a dream, like everything's amazing, you know. But when you start taking action and you feel that, it's like bursting your bubble. But I want you to know that all of the successful people of today failed way more than they succeeded. The only difference is that they did not let themselves held back by those failures. Instead, they learned and they moved on. So I really want to encourage you and to be your Marinka, like, go for it. The worst that can happen is that you learn a lot of lessons and that you can do it differently next time. Or you learn that crochet design really is not for you. That's a very valuable lesson as well. Anyway, she said to me, go for it. So I went for it. And luckily, I have a husband who worked in IT. So he helped me set up my blog, my website, and I started sharing like free patterns. They weren't even tested. I was like, I'm doing this for fun. And whoever has the time to have it tested, please don't do that. But I did. And I was just publishing a blog post, just sharing yarn stuff. I also loved sewing. I loved to knit. I still love to knit. I just can't do it anymore. So I was combining these crafts and I was just having fun on my own little space. And it didn't get a lot of attention, but it did get like attention because my sister-in-law Marinka, she was also sharing for me, and of course my mother, she would comment on all of my blogs, and it just gained year after year. It grew a little, not much, but I was just having fun, you know. I wasn't doing it for success. I was just doing it because I loved what I did. And I wanted to share that love, you know. I really wanted to showcase. I don't actually know what drove me to crochet design, but I was like, I'm having fun and I want to share my creativity with the world, and I want other people to be creative as well. I think that was my main driver at the time. And I was just having fun. And then at one point, and I think I shared this before. Yes, I did share this before. But at one point, I read the book, All the Light We Cannot See. I just love books. I started reading like 10 years ago after a very long hiatus because I loved to read as a child. Like, I devoured all of the Harry Potter books and just Roald Dahl and whatever. I devoured them all. But I really seriously started reading again like 10 years back, I think. And I was discovering all these new books. And then it was 2016 when I read the book All the Light We Cannot See, and I was just so blown away, so inspired. I was like, this is it. This is my new way of crochet designing. I am going to use the stories of books, the imagery of books, and create crochet designs with them. So that's what I did. I actually still have the whole plan and the whole notes around how I would do those designs and what I would do and what I would not do, and it's just so fun to read back. So I started creating with that book, and one of my breakthrough designs is the Hotel of Bees shawl. Just very quickly, I published that shawl. I actually wanted to post it for free because that was the easy way. I didn't have to set up a PayPal account. I didn't have to set up an Etsy account. I could just post it just like regular, just like I would always do. And someone at my local yarn store, she said, "No, you don't. You won't release this for free. This is amazing. This is unique. You cannot just give this away for free." So I was like, okay. But then it was like a really steep learning curve because I was like, well, if I'm going to ask money for this, I need to set up a PayPal account. I need to make sure that it's tested. I want to make sure it looks professional, you know, create a PDF, all of those things. And I am so happy that I did because that design led to my big breakthrough as a crochet designer. People were like, oh my god, Christina, this is unique. this is so amazing. Everyone wanted in on that design. And it was just like a magical time because it's so powerful to have people actually say to you like, oh my god, what you are designing is amazing and we have such an amazing time creating this. We want more of this. And I was like, yes. Meanwhile, while all of that was happening, I was doing a law degree. I was getting a law degree, I was doing an internship, and my crochet design scheme was just I did it for the love of crochet and not really for money. And before I go into why I actually transitioned to full time, I want to give you a little cautionary tale because all of those people that are like, turn your passion into profits, I would barf. I mean, no, no. Please don't do that. It is so important that when you do creative work, that it's always for you. Because you have this dream, you have like this creative spark. And creativity can only grow when we feel room to be creative, when we feel the room to make mistakes, because that's also what creativity is. And it's also required from you when you elevate your skills to the next level. You will fail when you want to stretch your crochet design goals, when you want to stretch how your crochet designs actually look. You will make mistakes, you will frog, and you will need to redo. And when you have added pressure of, I need to make money, I need to pay my bills, I need to do this, I need to do that, then that's such a fast way into creative burnout. Let me give you an example of a designer who does this. I'll just keep it very vague just to not give her away, but it's so fun because I've been following her since I think April, and she shared her whole crochet design journey. She is a new mom, and she was like, I really want to stay home with my baby, but I also want to make some extra money. So she was like, let me just start crochet designing and offering patterns so that I can do that. So she's been sharing her whole journey. And from the start, she's been, I feel, she's been doing amazing. I mean, the first months, she sold like $200 or $300 or euros or whatever on Etsy. And I was like, well, that's amazing when you are just starting out, because the reality of it is that a lot of crochet designers, they get zero, the first few patterns they might feel. I mean, I hate to break it to you, but that's just reality. So it's like, you are actually doing a very great job. But then I saw that she was really struggling with some patterns doing great and other patterns failing, while her efforts would be the same. So it's very unpredictable. She also heavily relied on having her reels get viral. So she had like this pattern that was at release didn't do really great, like her words, not mine, but her reels went viral and that way she got more sales. So what she focused on from that point onward is her reels getting viral, which is also something that you cannot control. And it's actually true that when you focus on things you cannot control, like you say to yourself, I need to make this work, so I better get those sales because I'm doing this full time, or I need to make sure that all of my reels go viral to get the sales that I need, is such a great way into burnout, and especially creative burnout. So what would happen? She got like her major breakthrough. I was so happy for her, but at the same time, I was concerned. But it's her journey, not mine. She had this design that really went viral. And it was just the cutest thing. And I can so understand why it sold so well. Like 1,000 or over 1,000 sales in the first 24 hours. I mean, that really is amazing. But anyway, she got requests. Can you make it in this size? Can you make it for adults? Can you do this? Can you do that? And what she actually did, instead of honoring her own energy and honoring her own like creative space, she was like, yeah, okay, if you want this, then just let me add that. Let me do this. So what she did, apart on top of being a mother to a baby, she was working almost around the clock, like literally working in the night or through the night to get all these requests out. And then she would discover that people were actually not a fan of all of those other things than her original pattern that sold so much. The lesson here is that it really is not a good idea to turn your passion into profits and become a crochet designer full time from the start. What I see is that the most successful crochet designers or creatives, they start just because it's fun. They start part time. They start just because they love it. And they will keep loving it because there's no added pressure of I need to pay my bills. I need to make sure that it covers my cost. It there's just so much pressure and you really don't deserve that pressure. It's not fun at all. If you want to pay your bills, go get a job, Go get I cleaned houses for 3 years and I paid my bills with that, and there's absolutely no shame in that, you know. But you don't want to place that burden of having it to pay your bills on your creative business. You really don't. I mean, of course you can if you would love to hate your job, if you would love to hate your hobby or your passion, but I don't recommend it if that's not something you want. So let's get back to why I transitioned to becoming a crochet designer and crochet design coach under Christina Crochet Coach full time, and why I combined a spoonful of yarn and Christina Crochet Coach, because that's important. So I was working as a debt counselor. So not death, but debt. So I was helping people with their finances. I was helping them with their budgets. And I was doing that for like 32 hours a week, like 4 days a week. I was finishing my internship and my degree, my law degree, and I was transitioning into working for 4 days. And I was doing, I'm calling it my designer day. I would have like one day off and I would focus on my crochet designs. And of course, it's so easy when you're a crochet designer just to create your samples in the evening, So I was doing that. And my husband and I decided that we wanted to become parents. So at one point, I was working and I was also pregnant. Fast forward to Dan being 9 months, and I just couldn't cope with the pressure of it all. I couldn't cope with working an office job. Being a mom is in itself like a more than a full-time job. Being a wife, and also somewhere at the perimeters, I also still had a spoonful of yarn, but I wasn't doing anything with it because I was like, I don't have the space. I got sick like so many times. It felt so hard, so challenging to be it all, to be a mother and be sick all of the time. Like literally every week, I would have like the flu, I would have a cold, I would get COVID, I would get stomach flu. And on top of that all, I developed like IBS. So I was nauseous all of the time. And on top of that, it triggered like old fear of vomiting, like emetophobia of fears. I don't want to say I was living in hell because, you know, it can always be worse, but I feel this was like the worst time of my life. I felt so challenged. I felt so weak and so helpless. And I felt like such a bad mother because I couldn't show up for them because I was sick all the time, you know? It was such a challenging time. And so I tried to work at my day job and I tried to be a mother to Dan and I tried to be a wife. And I was only failing in my eyes. But most of all, I was failing me. I was failing my needs. And this is the whole reason why it wasn't working. And I felt so guilty because I was like, millions of people are doing this every day, being a mother, working a day job, being a friend, but and I was like, why can't I do it? So I was completely like in this victimhood role. I was feeling so sorry for myself, but also, like I said in a previous episode, contrast creates clarity. If it isn't for you, it will show up in your life. And if you won't pull the trigger on making a better decision for yourself, your life will make it so that you will be forced to make a better decision. So that's really what I feel that this burnout was. So I tried to do it all. I couldn't do it all. I tried and failed. So ultimately, in the end, I decided I'm going to quit my day job, which was so scary, but also so necessary for me to come back to myself and also be the mother that I really wanted to be. So what this did is I said to my husband, I said, okay, so I want to recover first and foremost. I want to create a life of alignment. Here you go with alignment again, but really, it has been such a key word for me because it helped me to let go of all of the things that really were not for me and get more into my life, all of the things that really were for me, which was such a journey. But anyway, this podcast episode is already running too long. But anyway, I said to my husband, I really want to get back to designing again, but I don't want to do it full time because I've seen it happen with Marinka, with my sister-in-law. When she started to do it full time, she said it really feels like so much of a burden, so much of a job that it really drains all of the joy out of it for me. And I was like, I really don't want that to happen. And so I was like, it makes so much sense to me to combine this with something else around being creative, around crochet. So I was like, I love to help people because that's also what I did when I was working as a dad counselor. I was coaching people, I was guiding them into a better life. And that's also when I was like, when I can help other designers, because there's so little information online around a crochet design. It's like it's being gatekept, or I don't know what it's about, but I think it's also that a lot of crochet designers, they do it part-time, so they really don't have the time to also elaborate on what they are doing behind the scenes. It's already so much. So I was like, I really want to help others become crochet designers as well and live a life that really suits them, because that's what I've created for myself. Let me just tell you, I do like typical working day is 3 hours of desk work. I do that Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So I have 3 days of the week off. I literally like start at 10 or 11 in the morning, then I just work until like 2 and then I'm off my desk. So I really have the space to create and to be lazy, because that's also one of the things that really is so important to me, just to literally stare at a wall. I need that space to come back to myself. I need the space to wander in the forest and to just be, so that I can be that amazing mom that I'm now being. And I am forever grateful that I have this skill of mine that, by the way, anyone can learn, that has helped me to create a life that suits my needs and desires. So, my biggest advice around how to become a successful crochet designer in 2025 and do it full time is not rely on crochet design like pattern sales alone. Make sure that you combine it. I mean, there are a lot of crochet designers that also are indie dyers. They hand dye yarn. They, some of them do paid workshops or classes like in person. Some do virtual workshops. Some have memberships. Some are coaches, just like myself. Some are doing like not like I'm doing very publicly, but some they do like behind the scenes mentorships. Like you can do a 1 year mentorship with them. Um, Things like that. They combine it so it gets to be fun and it stays fun, and there's a lot less pressure on the pattern sales alone. So let me go over a few tips, because I love for these episodes to have very concrete tips and actions. So, what I would suggest for 2025, I don't care if social media is the norm. I want you to go after whatever feels the most fun, the most light, and the most aligned for you to show up at. So, if this is social media, then that's just fine. I mean, if you love creating reels, then just do that. But if you're like, oh, that just feels like a hassle or draining or whatever, then my next advice would be to really focus on long form content. So that should be starting a blog or doing a YouTube channel or doing a podcast. So you have like your whole separate platform that you can just be yourself and share what you love. I would also, my next advice is, and this is also what I want to focus on in 2025 to help you with, is that you stand out with your crochet designs. So don't go making a washcloth or a mug hug or whatever things that's already out there. And if you do, if you're like, well, simple is my thing, then make sure that you really stand out and excel at that. But what helps the most and what helped me like create my own breakthrough is design with a unique crochet design style, so that people instantly recognize, oh, those are the designs from A Spoonful of Yarn. I've loved that shawl, and now she's released this shawl, and I love that one as well, so I'm going to buy that one as well. That's really how you build your whole crochet business, is create those loyal customer relationships. And another thing is to learn by doing. And don't get caught up in the numbers. Like, don't get caught up in the result of the doing. Because enjoying yourself should be the most important metric. And I've discovered that whatever lights me up most and feels most fun and most light is also where I'm most successful. And also what people love from me as well. Another piece of advice, if I was to start from scratch as a crochet designer this year, is to seek out collaborations and really don't feel ashamed or awkward if you get no or a non-reply, because that happens all the time. I mean, I think that even with my whole business, how I've built it today, when I seek out collaborations, a lot of the time it's still no, and that's not personal. I mean, collaborations should be mutual beneficial for both parties and should feel like an energetic match, like a yes from both sides. And it's not personal if it's not a yes. I mean, I've heard from so many people that say things around me being, I don't know, different or awkward or whatever. Like I have this certain type of energy that's not for everyone. And that's totally okay. We are not for everyone. So please don't feel personally attacked or ashamed or denied when you get a no or a non reply. What I would also do, and what I already did when I first started out with A Spoonful of Yarn, I shared my content on all of these creative sites and areas like Pinterest, but I would also post regularly on open forums like Reddit or Facebook groups or referee forums. And I do want to put a side note on that you really don't want to share your work just for the sake of getting sales, because people can sniff that out from a mile away. You really want to share to connect, so that's what I did. I was just already on these forums, and so I just shared my work. And it's fun, because you get to have real connection with like-minded people, and that's just so valuable. And then my final piece of advice is to actually love what you make and be your own biggest fan. So I always have this rule of thumb is that I create for me and I write the pattern for them. So the pattern has to be clear for everyone, but I get to create what lights me up most. And I should absolutely love it. Love is the biggest keyword here. It should light me up. It should, whenever I'm taking the final show photos, I should be falling in love with my design all over again. And I do every time. And I'm really not concerned with what other people feel around my designs. I need to love this. And it really drives my husband crazy because I would just crochet on a sample and I would just lay it down on the couch. And my husband, he already knows what time it is. I'm saying to him, or he's saying to me, like, what are you doing? And I will be like, I'm frogging it. No, why do you need to frog it again? And it's like, it's almost physically hurting him. But I'm like, I'm not going to release subpar crochet designs, and neither should you. So, first and foremost, you should only release what you really love and be your own biggest fan. Because this love for your own designs truly will resonate in how you show up online, how you show up on your blog, on your social media accounts, on your referee. And people, they sense that. So this might be my number one thing, is that you really do what you love. And this can only grow from a place of spaciousness, a place of inspiration, and not a place of, oh, I need to pay the bills this month. So I hope this podcast episode has helped you make the decision, maybe because a lot of people that are wanting to crochet design, they're like, oh, I don't even want to design full time. That's all fine. But if you are one of the few that are like, I feel like this is my vocation and I would love to live a life of creative alignment, then these are my biggest tips for today. So thank you for listening, and I will talk to you next time on the Mind of Crochet Designer podcast. Oh, P.S. I would love to connect to more of you. So, whatever's your biggest takeaway, or wherever you are in your crochet design journey, I would love to read that. So, you can send an email to me, info@christinacrochetcoach.com, and share your crochet design journey, because I love to root you on and be part of your journey, because it's so important to have someone at the sidelines that's rooting you on. That's like, yay, you can do it. It's so powerful. So I would love to be that person for you. Talk to you next time on the Mind of the Crochet Designer podcast. Bye bye.